Art in the Raw Conversations with Creative People. I'm your host, Ann Kelly. Tonight, I'm excited to share a conversation with the three original members of Your Fine Day, a pop punk band from Denver, Colorado. In this candid conversation, we talk about all of the challenges and highlights of being in a band, from getting gigs, playing live shows, recording, and working as a group creatively. How does that all work? Here's the story. You guys have been a band for a pretty short period of time now, but from what I've seen, you're playing a lot of live shows, you're recording music, you have some music on Spotify, Bandcamp. So you're out there, you're doing things. Kind of curious about that story. How did this band form? Who's originally responsible for this?
Oh, it's all my fault.
You?
All my fault.
Blame
Yeah.
Sean.
Yep. Yeah, so we've all been in bands before, but for me, basically, COVID happened. I lost my last project. It's fine. But basically, in lockdown and then 2021, I just wrote a slew of songs, and so I put them out on Spotify and Apple Music, through DistroKid and all that fun stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to play them out. I want people to hear them. So that's when I found Trevor through a punk rock chat room called Band Mix. It's just
It's literally like Tinder for musicians.
it's Tinder for musicians. So him and I were playing together for basically a summer. We were looking for a bass player, and I've known Adam for quite a long time. And how's the story go?
He'd scheduled a rehearsal, an audition for this bass player for like 2 hours. And he was out of the room in like 45 minutes. And he came up and he's just like, yeah, it's not going to work out. And he had asked if I was playing with anybody. And I had been out of the band for a couple months. And he had said, do you just want to listen to what I've written? And just, let me know what you think. And he sent me some stuff that night. Listened to it a couple times, told him I liked it. And he had said that there was this one song that we do called Where It Ends. He'd said there's this bass part that, like, do you know how to do this bass part? Can you figure it out? So we got together, I think, like a week later, and I'd figured it out. And we just kind of started playing around in the studio. And then he didn't even ask, really. He's just like, hey, I've got this drummer, and we could be here next week. What days do you have off? And I'm like, shit. There was no asking.
You've been being used this whole time.
I've been filling in for the past year.
They're using you for their bass needs. Is that what's going on?
For right now, yeah. I'm reaching like the end of the runway, maybe.
So Sean, you are the singer and the guitar player, and you write all of the songs. And Trevor, you're the drummer, and Adam, as we discussed, they're using you for your bass skills. I've never been in a band. It seems to me like it's a serious relationship and with multiple people. So that can be kind of a tricky thing in terms of all of the collaborating and being really into something and maybe people disagreeing. Of course, there's always all of the stories in the history of music about band members clashing. And so, yeah, personal question. How's everybody getting along?
Well, we were doing well until that question. It's funny you mentioned collaboration. We have an EP done. We've been playing those songs out. That's when I say the band really has been established, when we started playing shows and getting merch and all that fun stuff. So really it's just been this year. The rest has just been rehearsal on the back end. But we're in the midst of recording another 5-song EP. We're going to make an effort after this session this winter to really collaborate on the next slew of songs and really come in here and just take a song at a time and part by part and say, what can we really do to make it a cohesive effort as a unit rather than just Sean saying, here's another song, guys, play along to it.
And you're in the studio now. This is where the rehearsing happens. Is this where the recording happens too?
This is the Magic Studio.
Yeah, this is just the rehearsal spot for us. We record in Sean's basement. He has a little setup in his basement that we can record in.
Nice.
We rent the studio space. Like, this is just a place in Denver that you can go to practice. It's a little bit of an expense. And so with our like $7 that we make at each show, you know, to rent a studio space would be a lot more. So luckily Sean has that set up. We've, you know, got some gear over time just to make sure that everything sounds good. So it's, you're kind of like investing in the process and just investing in the growth of the band and the opportunities there. So we're slowly making that happen.
Sean and Trevor, you guys found each other on, you described it as like an online dating site for musicians to find each other. That's kind of a cool thing. That did not used to be the case back in the day.
Up on Craigslist when I was younger. That was always the go-to for a long time, was Craigslist before all the
Sketchy
other
now.
social media.
I moved here from California. It's like taboo to say that in Denver, but I was just kind of like putting myself out there, and that website's really neat. You can put your influences and what bands you like and what instruments you play. But,
Would that be a thing though if you guys saw each other on the site and you're like, hey Adam, why are you?
Yeah, when I used to work at one of the rehearsal studios, and they had a big bulletin board, community bulletin board, where you can, you know, look for musicians or post up that you want to join a band. And we were leaving one day, and he saw something on the bulletin board, and like started jotting down somebody's number. We're like, what the shit, man? Like, you can't do it like right in front of us. And I had to go to work the next day. I went to work next day and took it down. I was like, no one.
Did you?
I've heard having a little bit of strife within the band actually makes for better music. Is that something anybody would agree with or disagree with?
We don't really have a lot of that. I'm the oldest one in the group.
By far.
Yeah. I think like the only thing that I ever really get pissed off about is they're never on time to anything.
We've been very on time lately, though. So
Yeah,
don't jinx
so-
What do you mean one time? We weren't on time.
It used to be,
Extremely late once.
because, you know, anytime that we play a show, we get a production email from the venue, and they'll tell us what time we have to be there, what time we have to load in, what time our sound check is. And there's times where it's, I think one of the last times we played,
Yeah, but
it was like 45 minutes late. They weren't there.
No, but it was 6 hours before we went on.
Yeah,
So like, I mean,
we weren't on till
we're on 7.
7,
And be there at noon.
we had to be there at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
And we're just like,
When it was a Sunday, it's like fuck.
yeah, it was a Sunday matinee show, and we're just like, it's fine. And I'm just like, where are you guys?
But he's not wrong. We've all been in bands before, and there's just a lot of like shit talking. You call people out. You kind of have to be able to like look at yourself and say, you know, well, I'm playing that part wrong. It doesn't sound good. I am playing that part wrong. How do I get better? And like, so there's like that level of like, you need to be able to tell your bandmates that they're not doing the part right, but also have the conversation of how could this song be better? What's the goal that we're trying to get to? It's not like I don't like you as a person. The goal is to get to a point where it's a good song that people like and we have fun playing it. So it's a really interesting dynamic where you have to take feedback and take criticism, but also be able to understand the intention behind it. And also just like understand that we're also just gonna give each other shit. Like we're also just gonna have no intention behind it and just say like, you know, you're ugly and like that's the end of the story, you know. So you gotta make sure that you keep everybody on their toes, you know. And it goes into like the stage banter and stuff where you're just having fun, goofing off. The whole goal of everything is to just have fun and hang out. And if people like it and it's a hit, then that's a plus. But like just hanging out with your buddies and like playing music should be the goal, you know.
Yeah, doing it for the love of the thing. I feel like the best creative expression comes from that. You're just having fun and you're doing it for yourself or collectively first and foremost.
I think the cool thing about what Sean writes is like he writes structure. He wrote 5 new songs, so he kind of recorded. Well, he did record 8 or 7 songs that he had already written and recorded, and then he brought us into the mix. So as a group, we've written 5 songs. Is that right? 5 on the EP,
Yep,
right?
5.
Maybe there's 6 now.
5.
5. And So Sean laid the foundation of the song, like the structure, the lyrics, the chords. But then we brought, our own flair to it. Like I brought the drum part and Adam brought the bass part. So it's not like Sean's like, play this here. No, that's wrong. Play that. So he's really like lenient. And some people in bands aren't like that. They're like, this is my song. You need to play this part. And you're like, dude, I just want to play what I want to play, man. So you can kind of then say, well, what if we don't do this? We do that here. And Sean's open to receiving that info and like trying to do his best for the song. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the drummer or the bass player. I just write the words, melodies, and guitar parts, and I go, all right, you two, your time to shine. Go figure it out.
So how about the live shows? I would imagine playing live shows must be an amazing experience, just that raw energy. As opposed to, I'm sure, jamming and playing in the studio, that's awesome too. But just that experience of being there with the audience. I saw you're playing Herman's Hideaway in a few days on Broadway. You've been playing all these cool little clubs all over Denver, and that must be awesome.
I'm just really grateful to be doing this again, playing out and being in a band again, and being able to come to rehearsal every week. And these guys put up with my shenanigans and my prima donna attitude when it happens, and my happy moments and sad moments and angry and everything in between. But I mean, the biggest thing I can say is how it's just fucking grateful. I mean, especially with COVID, like, I mean, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do this again. Like, we're not, 2022. We're not spring chickens. This isn't our first rodeo doing this. So, will people care we're able to do this again? I think I speak for them. We all just feel very, very lucky to be doing this again. So, I mean, the live show itself, there's nothing like it. Yeah, I mean, it is euphoric. Like, I still get nervous before I play every show, no matter where we're at.
Yeah, Sean's like a big ball of anxiety, like up until we play. So, like, typically, like, run of show for Sean will consist of being late, showing up
I've been
to
on time.
like load in, sound check, and then from there it's just like he's a middle-aged Jewish guy, so he's just like wound like super tight all the time, and it shows. Like he'll be like backstage and he's just the grumpiest. Like he doesn't, we played a show like in June, and it was the largest crowd we played in front of, because we were playing with a national act. And even before we got on stage, like, we had set up all of our merchandise, and some guy wanted to come up and buy. He was drunk as shit, but he wanted to like buy a shirt. And just like the person interacting with Sean, like, we're about to make money, and Sean's look was just like, oh, you want to buy a shirt? Cool, okay. Like, he just like didn't give a shit at all.
Hey man, what's up? Thanks for like whatever.
Again, he was drunk as shit, and I didn't know what was going on.
But like, it's just this like moment of, I don't know what's like going on in his brain, but we just
But then real quickly with that guy, you gave him the shirt, and the payment didn't go through, so Trevor had to go and shake him down. Like,
I did.
Then you got a little, hey man.
I got his friend.
Yeah.
I got his friend to pay for it.
That's typically how Sean is. He's just like super anxious and nervous.
But
he's like usually like already drinking.
Yeah, Trevor.
I'm already drunk when I got there, like on the car.
I have like the responsibility of like getting shit set up and like talking to people, like sound people and merchandise. But then once we get on stage, that completely goes away for Sean, and I think it goes more towards Trevor and I, where I think we have more nerves.
Yeah.
And Sean just gets up and he's got like all the energy in the world. He just like comes up with stuff off the top of his head to like try to get people engaged. I don't like doing that, so I'll just I kind of just like turn my back every once in a while, or have a beer, and he's trying to work the crowd. He's just doing the whole thing.
Well, that's, I would imagine, is also helpful in the collaboration. There's everybody has their strong suits and their times that they step up. But also playing live, there's just a lot more unknown within that situation. I mean, I'm just assuming being in the recording studio where you know more or less what's going to happen.
I think about like if we could just walk up on stage and get a drum tech and they set it all up for me. There's a lot of like just did I bring this and is this thing set up correctly? Like you're setting up all your own things and then you're doing sound check. And like we had a show recently where something went weird with the sound and like they changed a drum mic and then it kind of sounded off. You got to be able to hear like I got to hear Sean's vocals in my monitor and I'm playing drums and it's loud. So like there's a lot of moving parts around playing live, and if you're doing it all yourself, it is stressful.
I mean, I think it's similar in the studio though to your question and point is like I just remember this one take on one of the newer songs we're doing on drums. I did this solo, I have a solo in the song, and Trevor made it through that part and I think maybe like 3 takes, and we're like, holy crap, that was the best take you've done the whole session. So I mean they're surprised in the studio as well, and I think the difference between, for me at least, being in the studio and a live show is a live show for me, like we are not perfect musicians, we're gonna fuck up, and for us it's all about the energy. You got to bring the energy and get people dancing and singing along and having a good time. That's the kind of show that we like to bring. But for the studio, it's really being able to come across with the emotion of the song or the part or the lyric or the line, maybe even down to the word when you're recording it. So I mean, yeah, in the studio you can practice all you want, but I mean, we've had days where my voice was shot and I couldn't do vocals. We've had days where they've come to the studio
and where I just didn't get any good takes.
Yeah, like we set aside this time for hours,
yeah,
and we just were like, all right, well,
try next week.
Yeah, there weren't takes we could use. Next week, Trevor came in and just nailed 3 out of the 5 songs in the span of like 2-3 hours. Like, holy shit, that came across so simple. Like, why was last time so hard?
So live show, you just got like one go. Like, you got to bring the energy. You can't come back and say, "Oh, well, I'm kind of tired." You just got to bring it all and lay everything on the table. Whereas when you're recording, you can just kind of like, you know what? I don't feel it. I'm gonna stop in the middle of the song and start over.
The last show they did that.
Oh,
they started going through. Yeah, they started going through one of their songs. They're like, wait, that's not right.
It's interesting. I feel like you get to a point as a band where if you're like, hang on, I fucked up. People love that, to know that you're human and you made a mistake, and that part's relatable. But at the level we're at, it's going, oh wow, they fucked up, which we haven't done this yet, knock on wood. But oh wait, it's out in the middle of a song, start over. What's wrong with these guys?
Speaking of the live shows, you guys have been playing a lot of live shows. How are you getting these gigs? Like, is there a method to this?
So there's a gal here in Denver. Her name is Amanda Menard. And she runs a band management company called 4130 Management. She got us booked for our first show, which was a Valentine's Day show. And at that time, she had maybe like 10 bands that she managed. And I just kind of pestered her a little bit because the bands that she works with, she's not only doing these small shows like in these little clubs, but she's booking bigger shows and national acts. And because she's doing that in certain venues, she's able to book her bands with these national acts that come through. And I friended her on Facebook and just started talking to her. We have a couple mutual friends in common, and it was like really late at night. She had said that she was looking for another band to put on in her management, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, hey, we're childish. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We need a band, Mom. And she texted me like 5 minutes later. She goes, all right, I'll get you guys on. She does like all these metal and hardcore bands. Like, we're one of the only like poppier bands that she works with. But she'll set aside a venue, she'll set aside a date, and she'll email, she'll text and say, hey, do you want on this show? She's gotten us two or three headline gigs, I think.
I mean, yeah, I mean, she's gotten us every gig. We're very lucky. We're sugar-liking to our band. We played our first show, and we played to a very big crowd. We're just like, oh, fuck, I remember this. We hadn't played shows in like 3-5 years, like as a collective. It just felt really, really good and lucky, like I said earlier, to be back on stage. He's been helping us with shows ever since, and none of us have had a booking agent before, and her being able to get us on gigs and do that part of the band for us we're so fucking lucky and grateful for that too. Not having to contact venues constantly to get another gig once, twice a month is it's just honestly a blessing.
It's a full-time job, like, because this isn't what we all do for a living.
Right.
You know, I wish it would be, but like, so to get off work and just like start grinding and trying to get shows is a lot of work. It's good to have a team and like build that team to help you.
Speaking of the whole collaborative aspect, but by day I run a gallery and I work with a lot of artists, so it's similar in that realm, where it's interesting in this day and age. There's a lot of artists that can just represent themselves, but that means doing a lot of things. That means making all of the art, dealing with all the correspondence, booking, paperwork, shipping, and there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah, I mean, we're lucky that
Headspace too.
They she does everything for us in that regard. And then, the venues, it's mostly up to the venues now to do all the artwork for the posters. It's our job to say yes to the opportunities that come up. It's their job to show up late to it. Collectively, it's up to us to take advantage of it. And our manager's, she's super busy. She has 25 bands, I think, on her roster right now. So we can't afford to half-ass it. There's a lot of people in Denver that want to be under her management. So, we have to make sure that we do her proud. She's like band mom. Can't disappoint her.
As somebody who goes to shows but doesn't play shows, I feel like there is a difference between people who just show up and play versus people who put on a show. I can't articulate it, but I feel like there's a difference.
Yeah. The big bands that are out there that we like, they have a show.
They have production.
They have a production, they have a bit that they're doing, and it like fits their image. And I'm like, oh, I love his bit. Like, it's not a bit, I love it. I'm just like engorged in like the facade of the whole thing. But then I've seen other bands where they're doing their bit, and I'm like, oh, it's like so fake, they're not authentic. So I think there's a lot of balance there between putting on a show and being authentic.
You're talking about when a band shows up, plays their song, says okay, thanks, and goes away and hides in the back the whole time, versus a band that's energetic, blows you away, and goes and meets the fans. Like, I mean, we've had this conversation before. It's entertainment. You got to be there to fucking entertain. And that's a big conversation that we've had in the last few months.
We had a meeting where we were trying to figure out costumes.
Not costumes.
And Sean's just texted us on Instagram that we're going to have Neil Diamond costumes. So we're going to have like glitter shirts that are like 70s that go down to here.
From Saving Silverman.
And like from Saving Silverman.
The deepest V-necks.
The deepest V-necks.
The deepest V-necks.
Biggest collars possible, bell bottoms. So that'll be on our next show that we have. So look out for that.
That sounds like fun.
You know what? Some people, sometimes they have a bad day. Like, yeah, you're there to entertain and then to do a show. And you know what? Sometimes shows on the other end just don't pan out the way you want either as the artist, in regards to, sometimes attendance or whatever it may be. So, I mean, sometimes you just show up and be like, fuck, I'm tired. Because like I said, this is not our full-time job, especially for bands and vans and traveling that are driving on late nights. Like, that shit gets tiring really fast, being on the road. So Yeah, I mean it's funny. I had a conversation with my buddy, and he's just like, yeah, he's like 2 weeks, no problem. He's like anything after. He's like, I get pissy. I want to go home. I want to go to my bed. He's like, I'm not meant for the road.
Mm-hmm.
So if they show up and play, it's kind of like dealing with, honestly, with your any day job. Like you don't know what people are going through. So that is one thing I take into account. Is some shows are better than others, and sometimes like that was entertaining with production and kick ass, and other bands they don't have the money to bring a big production, and
I
they
think
they barely made it to the venue at times. So they played their set, and they're just like, okay, we did it. When's the tour over? Like I've gotten that vibe from bands before too, which I can understand.
We played with a band out of North Carolina a couple months ago, and they went from North Carolina, played a bunch of shows until they got out to Las Vegas, played punk rock bowling, and then went all the way back to North Carolina playing shows. And I was in contact with them because we were going to be doing a show with them here in Denver, and the tire blew out on their trailer, and then it like took off like the fender, like the wheel well up their trailer, so they
like
had to
driving through Moab or something.
it's up in like Grand Junction around there.
Yeah,
So they had to get the tire
in
repaired.
the middle of the desert.
Yeah, and then so it was like the tire had to get repaired, the wheel well had to get repaired. But they got it fixed in like good time. They drove all through the mountains. They got into Denver. They made it, I think, with 40 minutes to spare basically, and they were just not in a good mood because of everything that had happened. And then their guitar player got out of the van to stretch,
Mm-hmm.
and then gets hit by a car.
Oh my God. What?
Luckily,
on Broadway.
yeah, it was on Broad. It was the 404 Club on
Mhm.
4th and Broadway. It wasn't like the car wasn't going fast. Someone like where they parked their van, they didn't have enough room, and there was a car parked in front of them. And the guy who owned the car was like, "I'll just move my car out of the way." And it was right when she was getting in front of the car, and the guy tried gunning it so that he can jump into traffic and just got her right in the legs.
Luckily, she was okay.
Yeah, she
Nobody
was
cares.
okay. Yeah, she got a little bruise, but like, 2 hours later, hour and a half later, when they get on stage, it was all the energy in the world, the
Mhm.
best attitude in the world. She didn't give a shit that she got hit by a car. They didn't give a shit that they were stranded for an hour getting their tire fixed. They just kind of pushed all that aside and played the hell of a show.
The show went on even through all that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that is the attitude to have. I don't disagree, but I've also seen where band was shit's literally blown up with being the van. I remember I was just thinking today about a show I went to years ago where the band people waited for them the hour, but they literally got there an hour after they were supposed to play because of van problems. They were not happy. They
That's
played
smart.
on, but they
That's
were just
smart.
like even they were just like, I'm not in a good mood, but let's fucking do this. It's entertaining, but like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about entertaining people.
Ozo Motley, their last song, they'll parade through the audience with like a bunch of brass instruments, and like that's cool. You can expect that at their shows, but not to say that you got to do all of that. But I feel like some shows just have that energy of everybody wants to be there and they're super into it. And I think even more so, like you just got hit by a car, but you're still playing. Not because you have to, because you want to be there.
Well, it's the DIY
Mhm.
versus like there's 12 guys on your tour bus like helping you with your production. So that's kind of the balance there. And if you're just DIY, but I think that it's really cool when you do see bands that are live and they're like, "Hey, yeah, we just came here from Utah. We got hit by a car. Like our tire fell off, and now we're here. And we got here like 20 minutes ago. Okay, here's this song." And then you're like, "Oh, damn, like this band is committed." But it's also based on the band's attitude. Even if you're not like a professional, like you're not Ozo Motley, but like you're amateur professional, you want to get to that level, And it's just that's the performance that you're putting on.
It's all an act. That's why they call them acts.
It's all an act. I like that
Mhm.
you brought this up. We were talking about this last week at our band meeting. What are you really watching when you see a band? It's not necessarily just people playing live music. Like, you want a little bit more than that.
So, while a lot of playing good music can be planning, I think magic is also part of that. Any theories here on the percentage of hard work, planning?
I think when you go into it, when you go into a live show, you just take everything that you've been doing for however long in rehearsals, and then in live shows, everything's just like kind of spur of the moment. You're just going to jump around, you know. Sean's like called out people in the audience, like in a friendly way. He's not like starting fights or anything from the stage, but just everything is just kind of, hey, this would be fun. We're on stage. That's how I look at it. I just don't want to just stand there. I kind of picture myself in the audience and be like, what do I want to see these guys do next? And if that's Sean doing his little cute jumps that he does, or when he like drops sticks
No,
like
that
all
never
the
happens.
time.
Never happens.
You know, we don't go into a rehearsal studio and say, all right, for this song, you're going to stand here, I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to run over there, then you're going to jump over my chord. And it's like we've bumped into each other once or twice on stage.
We're not rehearsing jumping over cables with
Not-
like jump rope.
He like this guy like
We should do
I
that.
don't even know what show it was that we were playing, but he, like all of a sudden he's like dropped on his knees like right in front of me and was playing. I was like, dude, this is so weird. Like, don't do that because I didn't know how to react to it. But it looked
But it was live, and
yeah, and it
just-
was
you just
like
gotta go with
screw
it.
whatever.
You can't
Like
be like, stop. I'm uncomfortable. So my background was like I was in jazz band when I was in high school. So my whole thing has always been about like improv, and I think when you're in a band and like writing music, like that's the whole point. Like you have to be comfortable just making stuff up when you're writing music because that's the whole point. But like in a live setting, you just have to be comfortable just reacting to whatever's happening. So it's kind of like what Adam was saying, where like you do that practice and like you have those like songs down. It's like it's muscle memory, but then it's also that's where the magic comes in, where you can mix the muscle memory with the improv and like just kind of seeing what's happening and responding to that while you're in the middle of a song.
So, if we have to pull up a percentage of magic versus planning, is there an agreed upon percentage?
As much planning as possible.
Probably not 50-50. I mean, I would say it's 60-40 depending on the day, meaning like it's
Which one's 60, which one's 40?
it depends on the day. Like that today is like it's probably 60% planning,
Oh.
40% magic. But I could be wrong. We're gonna rehearse after this, so it might be 60% magic versus planned. But we always plan a set list, for example, so that part's planned. That's part of the 60%. But then where the magic comes in, it's not just the live setting. It's like, oh wow, like I can't believe I wrote that part, or like I said earlier, that recording session
Right.
where Trevor got it in like 2 takes.
Sometimes the magic is just a breakthrough in a practice or a breakthrough in a recording, and you've never done something that way before, but now you've figured out a new thing, and it's like, oh, well, maybe this is going to be how we're going to do the song now. And that's the magical breakthrough there.
And then moving forward, that maybe transforms everything.
Right, but like in a live setting, you want to bring as much preparation as possible to a live setting,
Yeah, I mean,
and then
But
the
the-
magic goes from there.
vocal technique. You work on it, you practice as much as you can. So I feel like in a live setting, the magic comes because all the training goes away 'cause you're so excited to play and you're just ready, full of energy, and you're like, all right, by the end of the show, it's like, oh, my voice is pretty raw, but I had a blast and it felt really good to play the way we did. And did it sound the best? It depends on the show, and other times it's just like we played one show where I was totally having voice problems, and the magic came that night because our attitude was we don't care what happens on stage, meaning like we're not fucking everything up, we're not being pissy dropping instruments, but that one we were just like we didn't have any pressure. There was no pressure for that show. We're like, let's just have a very, very, very fun time. I don't know, maybe we had a shot or two before that one as opposed to trying to be dead sober for we didn't feel the pressure, like let's just bring the fun. And that was one of the, I mean, it wasn't the biggest, but it was one of the most energetic crowds we've had and played to thus far because it like I said, that one did feel magical when the odds were against us.
It's interesting the lineage. The other day, I played some Sex Pistols for someone that's a huge metal fan that knew of the Sex Pistols but had never heard the Sex Pistols. But like in this day and age, I guess they seem kind of tame, and maybe I've just been listening to the Sex Pistols for a really long time, so I thought nothing of it. But this person who's a big metal fan was like, what is this? And I was like, it's the Sex Pistols. And they're like, no, there's no way. That's something I've also been thinking about recently, just in terms of the lineage of music. Oldies used to be shocking, and then rock and roll was shocking, and then punk rock was shocking. And kind of like nothing's really, not that we should be doing anything for shock value, but it's just an interesting progression. Would you agree?
Like all the boundaries have already been pushed.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no really where to push. You know, punk rock has always been pushing against like the authority and just the mainstream.
Then it became mainstream.
And then it became mainstream.
I mean, the shit that I write, you know, it's nothing new. I'm not reinventing the wheel with my style of songwriting. I mean, shit, technically the inspirations that I have of all those 2000s, early 2000s bands, and they're all dad rock now technically because people our age have kids. Well, they have kids, I don't.
It's an interesting time with everything that's come before us and what's happening now.
Kind of follow, like, punk has kind of followed the same line as hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
Like when it first came out, it was this controversial noise, and then it just, you know, it was super shocking. Like Two Live Crew was, you know, NWA, like all that was done for shock value. And now you've got that
Drake.
dude, yeah, that pervert, and then what's the dude with like the Takashi guy?
Oh, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yeah, like that.
That piece of crap.
Yeah,
He's not a
like,
good person.
He's doing that for shock value, but like, you know, you're emulating like George Clinton. George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic had a dude in a diaper on stage. So like this dude looking like a Skittle on stage, like it doesn't do anything, you know. And I think real genuine punk bands aren't really pushing for like shock value anymore. I don't think any real mainstream punk group, or even like in Denver, like small DIY punk groups, I don't think anyone's doing anything to just to do it, to be.
Well, I mean, for the record, we're not either, but that's okay.
Well, no, well, like that's the thing. Like, what can we do? If you were to bring it back to like watching the Ramones the first time they played at CBGB, forget like all the arguing that they did on stage and like fighting, but just like that raw energy. I think that would be more shocking than like showing your ass right now. Like, if I really truly think that.
To me, the phrase "pushing the envelope" comes to my mind when it comes to the Sex Pistols versus metal. I mean, metal bands are just punkers learning to play their instruments better. Like, that's the only difference. You know, I just still do downstrokes and upstrokes because I never learned to solo well. So that's my excuse for playing the genre. But I mean, you know, when it comes to not much shock value pushing the envelope, has it all been done okay? But I mean, I feel when it comes to not shocking, but not just energy, it's still production. Like we went to a show recently. This awesome band in Denver called Leveler. Shout out to them. They they blew me away with their production. They had smoke machines. They had a dope light show. Their singer stood on that fucking riser and just screamed like a motherfucker. And I mean, and to me, as it hasn't been done, like you can argue everything's been done, no matter what you're playing, but I just, it's taught their energy and they brought a stage presence that, I mean, I can say I haven't seen in quite a long time personally.
I think the most shocking thing for us is when we get on stage and people are like, "Fuck, they're old, they're they're still doing this." I think that's probably what shocks people the most.
You can have that perception out there doing it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. We do this for the love. We're not gonna fucking be Green Day. We're very lucky, like I said, we have someone that books our shows for us. That's huge, and being grateful for the small accomplishment. We've been playing shows consistently all year. That's a huge accomplishment. We're recording more and more and more. For me, it's not just the love, but you mentioned magic. A lot of it's luck too, and timing. Yeah, we're playing a genre that's 20 years too old, but we still fucking love it. Still listen to it every day.
Adam, you brought up hip hop. Like hip hop's been around for 50 years now. That's wild. We're not old yet. We're older.
Right.
But it's funny having grown up with 90s hip hop and yeah, some of this new stuff now. I always wondered what was gonna make me, when I was older, I'd be like, what is this? And like, yeah, some of this new hip hop that's coming out, I'll admit I don't get it.
We're all that Simpsons meme. It'll happen to you, which, you mentioned
Yep.
Elvis earlier, and we're like, they don't get it. Like, I mean, at that age, like, I'll never be that person. I'll keep up with the trades and the music.
You
And,
don't
I, and
want
I'm
to.
going, yeah, I mean, and plus it's changed so much. I mean, every point something seconds, there's 100 or 300 new songs on Spotify that people do like around the planet. It's some statistic. It's something crazy
That's
like that.
nuts.
There's so much more music being put out there. So it's an interesting thing in that not that it's easy to make music and put it on Spotify, but it's different than having to find a record label and make the album and put it out there and press the vinyl. It's easier to be out there, but then there's a lot more competition as well.
Technology is a blessing and a curse.
Before I let y'all jam, I have a question for everyone. If you could pick any superpower that would be helpful in making music, what would that be?
This is not mine, but my friend told me this one back in high school. And he's like half Latino and half white. And he said his superpower was he would want to have the ability to know all of the like Tejano music lyrics. So my superpower in that realm was to know how to rap every Beastie Boys song perfectly.
How's that going to help
And
us?
it wouldn't help us create more music, but it'd be a really cool superpower to have in the musical realm.
Okay.
So that's not my answer, but that's just an anecdote.
I like that. I mean, that
What's your
would
answer,
be.
Anecdote?
Right? You could just like rap a Beastie Boys song perfectly. Can you do that?
No,
See, it'd be a cool superpower.
it would.
I encourage it.
Oh my God, that's a tough question.
They say you should just write as many songs as you possibly can, because like at one point you're gonna write a good song and you're gonna write like 20, 50, 100, okay songs. And I think the superpower was like to hear it from other people's perspectives. Like see, because when you're writing like lyrics, like you write what you want to write on the page, but then how can you make those lyrics more impactful for other people?
So is yours then to hear music from a different perspective?
Yeah, that's my superpower.
Okay.
Well, I have a feeling everybody says time travel to be like, I wrote this song and no, it was me. And I have the publishing rights to make become a millionaire.
Did you just go change your publishing? Go
Yeah,
like, be the fifth Beatle?
Yeah.
Sixth Beatle?
Yeah,
whatever the
is
fuck
it
you are.
does everyone just say time traveling is a superpower so they can go back and be like a producer and publisher for like the Beatles?
Well, I mean, that would be a really great superpower. And it's funny you say that because often the question I ask at the end of the show is about time travel, where you would time travel And I just recently brought in the superpower question, so it's interesting that that all went full circle.
I know Adam wants to fly far, far away, so
Yeah.
Adam's answer is flying.
I think mine would be. I think it would have to do with like writing a song. No, my superpower is fucking recording because I hate recording so much. I fucking hate it.
You did well.
You hated
Mine,
recording, dude.
mine would be these assholes kept me up on the.
It was like a Tuesday night, and it was like 11:30 at night.
He's like,
man.
oh, just if you
Just
just do it
do-
one more time, and
But
then you
there's
can go.
always one
And it
more-
was
one more time.
9:55, and I wanted to go home and go to sleep, and then it was like 11:45 when I got home. I was pissed. My superpower would be we're gonna record something. It's something I already know. One take, and
That's a
I'm
good-
done. I
that's a
can
good
be
one.
in and out of
That's
his
a fucking good one.
disgusting basement, like spiders and just like weird toys. I do one take, song's done. Take a little break, have a mimosa, do another song, it's done. Have an old fashioned.
We just did that last week.
I know, but it wasn't like, hey, you did it in one take. Let's do it again. No, we had to go to fucking Ruben's house. We had or Felipe's house. It took it'd be one take. That's my superpower. Top that, dude.
Mine's a two-parter. One perfect pitch. God, I would love that.
Goddamn.
I would love that perfect pitch as a superpower, and then superpower of never getting sick, never getting cold, never being ill, never having a raspy voice ever
Not
again.
yours is fine.
That would be my superpower.
I'll go in on that too. So I think just doing backups, being able to have like some kind of sense of tone, that would be great. So yeah,
God, you're such a defeatist on yourself.
being able to record in one take and being able to sing backups.
Which he does fine at both, by the way, but
just maybe a little more so.
Exactly.
I gotta know what's the time travel question?
Well, so yeah, I just have to ask it now. If you could time travel anywhere, past or future, where would that be? But I'm gonna add it's to a concert.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
any concert,
I got
where are you going?
Clash at Red Rocks.
Uh-huh. What? They played at Red Rocks?
Yeah, with the Who.
Damn. When?
Uh,
When? Like late
1980.
70s?
No, it was like
Early
81,
80s.
I think.
God damn. Yeah.
And any Joy Division concert.
That would be amazing.
I don't know the Clash's like concert lineup through the history of time, but the Clash would be a good one to go
Yeah.
see for sure. Or hold on, or I would go way the fuck back and go see like Mozart, because that motherfucker was crazy. And like I would love to see him like whip off his wig. And,
Shoot for like a '93 Nirvana show because everything was out, and then it would have been a variety. I mean, we all know Morrissey sucks, but it'll never happen now. Would love to have seen the Smiths as a whole.
yeah.
Can't now. I've been very lucky. Like Jawbreaker reunited, that was great. Lucky, I'm very happy got to see them. Didn't think that was gonna. Oh, Operation Ivy. That's
There you go.
That's the one fucking band that I would go back
That's
time
a good choice, yeah.
because I want it to happen so badly with the reuniting, and I think Riot Fest is gonna. They got Jawbreaker back together.
They got
Like-
the Misfits back together.
They did get Misfits back together. So like, why can't they get Up Ivy back together?
I got to see the Dead Kennedys like 7 years ago in Albuquerque. It was not the full original band, but it was still super cool.
Been a good one
Yeah,
in their
for sure.
heyday too. Bay Ray and Jello, because he went nuts on stage.
Who? Both of them?
Well, no, mostly Jello.
Well,
He
yeah.
went nuts. That would have been a good one.
I mean, I would have picked further back, but the fact that I even got to see that show was pretty epic. But I think we just need to see as many shows as we can.
And I mean, I guess I've been lucky. I was just thinking, like, all the bands are like, all my formative years. Like, thinking back, like, what's the a few bands I haven't seen besides Nirvana? I never like REM. They broke up. Fucking Operation Ivy, I mean, I never thought the Misfits were gonna get back together. Never thought I'd see Jawbreaker, but like more so for me, like saying earlier, like I got to keep up with the trades. Like all the band, like now the Lawrence Arms are a fucking classic act for. Oh, they're classic. They're great, but I mean, I saw them in high school and college when nobody was seeing them, and now all of a sudden the people go to their shows, which is great for them. But I mean, being able to even open up for those dudes was an awesome experience too, or 2/3 that is. But I mean, I guess that's the thing is I've been very lucky where it's not like fuck. I wish I could have seen that band. I feel like I've got to see like all the bands that I love.
That's an awesome thing about playing live is you're getting to perform alongside a lot of bands that you currently love, I would think, or bands that you're learning about. I would imagine that's a big perk.
Oh yeah.
The bands that we play with here in Denver, a lot of them are under the same management
Mm-hmm.
as we are. So like bands like Egoista, they're pretty big here in Denver. But being able to play with Cam Girl from North Carolina was really cool. We played with Elway out of Fort Collins. That was a lot of fun.
Very MIA.
Yeah.
We played with them. The cool thing about when you go to shows is sometimes you see like a main act and then you see the openers for them and you never heard of them before. And then they blow up and then they're the next big thing. So, just going to more shows and seeing more bands and playing with as many bands as you can in the area, anybody can blow up at any time, so.
Instagram and Spotify also ruined that. Now you're like, oh, the opening act. Do you see the surprise? Or do you check them out first and be like, yeah, they're okay. We'll watch it. Like, it depends on the show. Sometimes you got shit going on the next day. You're like, I just want to see the headliner and go to
But
bed.
that's where the recording is different than the opening act. Like, the recording is different than the live. So the recording could suck, but they could be awesome live.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa.
That's just true. That is very true.
You got to go to the show to find out for sure, right?
Fucking A.
Mm-hmm.
Always go to the show. Always go to shows.
Always go to shows.
Shows first,
Nailed it.
Spotify second.
Yes.
That's right. We're fun.
I'll try to make it down to Denver for a show. I've been wanting to come back to Denver.
Or we'll just come to you.
We can play in your backyard and you can
That's
just pay us in green chili.
That works too.
There's got to be a backyard somewhere.
This body was built from green chili, so I need to maintain this somehow.
It was fun talking to you guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. This was awesome.
Oh my god!
Ow! Good.
Woo! They're real.
Yeah, it's not just a
It's not a Zoom background.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not a Zoom background.
It's a real background.
Oh goodness!
God, what's wrong with those?
And that's
What's
real,
wrong with you?
That's real blood on your hand.
Well, it was fun, and let's talk soon.
Yes,
Yes,
definitely.
please.